Hello and welcome back to Alex FPL. Today we're covering all the key information going into game week 5. This game week, it's a standard deadline of Saturday at 11 a.m. BST, which is UK time. And on the right here, you can see that most of the fixtures are taking place on Saturday, with 3 fixtures taking place on the Sunday, with special mention for Arsenal versus City, which closes out the game week. Coming up, I'll be sharing some thoughts around when to wildcards, including my own plans, who to buy and sell, team goal and clean sheet odds, goal scorer odds, latest injuries, and then finally captaincy, as well as my own team selection. This video is packed with information, so make sure you stick around till the end. And if you find it useful, please remember to like and subscribe. So starting off with wildcard strategy, I think a lot of us are looking at a wildcard in either game week 6 or game week 8. I personally prefer my game week 6 wildcard plans because it allows me to move to players which I otherwise might not be able to afford if I wait any longer. I'm already on the verge of not being able to afford some of the drafts that I've put together in the last couple of days. So I want to make sure that I can jump onto these players that are rising in price, predicted to rise in price anyway, in the next 48 hours. My strategy is to activate the wildcard as soon as the weekend fixtures start. This will allow me to jump on all the price rises and let go of the players which are predicted to fall in price. The players I really want to get rid of are Wirtz, Watkins, Larson, Williams, and Fernandes. They've all been quite disappointing, apart from Fernandes maybe, that did return in one game week. And to be fair to Larson, he has been injured. But anyway, there is absolutely no more room in my team for them. I'm running out of patience. And if I wait any longer, as I said earlier, I really am worried that these players will fall in price and the players I want to bring in will go up in price or continue to go up in price. And I just can't afford to take on that risk. As for the players I'm looking to bring in, well, let's start with Van de Ven, for example, at Spurs. He costs $1 million less than Porro. And with Xavi Simons coming into the Spurs team, Porro's been taken off almost all set pieces, if not all of them. So Porro's appeal is massively reduced. And Van de Ven's goal threat from corners with his headers is something that I really like. So I think Van de Ven over Porro is an easy switch. And then in terms of the other players I'd like to bring in, obviously Arsenal have a great fixture string in game week 6. So I'm looking to target Raya and Gyökeres. I'd like to bring in a Liverpool defender, probably Virgil, and a Bournemouth defender, very likely Senesi, who's been doing great on DEFCON. I also want to bring in Palmer. However, Salah as well is someone I don't really want to let go of. He had a fantastic Champions League game midweek. So did Palmer, to be fair. So in an ideal world, obviously, I'm picking both of them, but I won't be able to afford that very likely. So I'm leaning towards Palmer currently. And then, of course, my number one target for the wildcard is Haaland, who has a really rough fixture against Arsenal away in game week 5, which is why I think a wildcard in game week 6 makes a lot of sense. Here you can see my first draft for the wildcards. I'm very likely going to have a team that's very similar to this one, though I won't promise that it will look exactly like this. Now let's look at the players that FPL managers are bringing in, starting with Semenyo. Huge amount of managers bringing him in. He's already in a lot of teams. He's now owned by 40% of managers. I only see that number going up, to be honest. Van de Ven, who I spoke about earlier, looks really great. Owned by 31% of managers, so becoming quite template himself. Haaland, of course, very popular pick, makes sense. Guehi is increasingly being bought up. I can understand that. Personally, I would go for Richards just because he's a bit cheaper. Palmer, of course, being bought in after his amazing game in midweek in the Champions League. Of course, he also went back to scoring in the Premier League last week. It looks like Palmer has finally woken up from his slumber. He hadn't scored from open play in the Premier League since January of early this year. So yeah, now that he's looking to score more freely, I'm definitely interested in bringing him back in my team. Voltemade could be a really interesting differential pick, only picked up by 2.7% of managers. Of course, he is coming in at 7 million, which is not bad. He seems pretty nailed to me. And of course, Wiss's injury makes him even more nailed. So I really don't mind it as a pick, actually. I think I've got an eye on him for the wildcard, but I'm not quite sure. Reason I say that is that in game week 6, when I'd look to bring him in for the wildcard, he's facing Arsenal, which is a nightmare fixture. Caicedo is a decent option, especially for his defensive contribution stats. However, if you're expecting him to score every other game week, that's absolutely not going to be the case. João Pedro is an obvious pick. He is, I think, maybe the most selected player in FPL currently at 66.8%. Can't argue with it. He's shown to be consistent. And with Palmer out as well, he was definitely picking up a lot more points. Now with Palmer back, we might be able to see João Pedro's minutes managed a bit more, but so far we haven't had any reason to think that. So I definitely think is a good move. We also see Grealish and Timber at the end of the list. I personally won't be going for them for several factors. Namely, Timber, I'm looking to get Raya, so I don't need two defenders from Arsenal. And Grealish, I think there's a bit of recency bias around his performances. He does have a rough fixture in game week 5. Potentially in the future, if his game weeks look a little better and I need someone at that price point in my midfield, I would bring him in. But right now, he's not on my radar. And now for the players that are being sold in FPL. I won't spend too long on this list because most of these are self-explanatory. They're either injured or falling out of favour with their managers or just simply out of form. The players I will say that I'm surprised to see on this list are players like Reinders. So for 5.7 million, I don't really see why people are selling him. Who are we pivoting to at that price point that is better value and consistently starting matches for a top side? If you're watching Man City games, you're seeing Reinders play really far up top, just outside the box, in an amazing position for a player at his price point. So for me, he's not going anywhere. Another player I'm slightly surprised to see on this list is Kudus. Yes, his points per match are not what probably managers wanted from him, but if you're watching the games, you're seeing that many times he is getting that ball in the box and it's just not getting finished. So as long as someone's getting on the end of those crosses, and at some point someone will, his point tally will go up. So again, I don't think Kudus is the switch that I'd be making at this point in the season. Now moving on to the team goal and clean sheet odds brought to you by Rob TFPL, as always on this channel. So starting off with projected goals, we've got Liverpool right at the top, who are facing Everton at home. And then we're followed by Arsenal, which is quite surprising to me because they're facing Man City. Of course, they are playing at home, but still, I'm quite surprised to see them in the second position there. I saw somewhere online that this is the game week with the lowest projected points since April 2023, which makes sense because quite a few teams are facing each other who are in similar positions, as we can see with Arsenal versus City, for example, both title contenders. Arguably Arsenal not, but I'll leave my Spurs bias at the door. Anyway, back to the stats. As you can see here as well, Chelsea and Brighton have fairly high goal expected for this game week. Other than that, I'm not really seeing that many opportunities here to jump on attackers, which is why it's another reason for me to roll this week. As for clean sheet odds, we've got Liverpool right at the top on 39%. Of course, I don't have a defender from that team. I really wish I did. Aston Villa coming in second. Fulham, a lot of us have Anderson. So great game week to play him. Wolves and Leeds and Arsenal all on similar percentages, as well as Forest and Crystal Palace. So yeah, again, use this list to help you make decisions on who to bench and who to keep on the pitch. My big dilemma is I've got Porro, who's playing against Brighton away. He's got a 20% likelihood of keeping a clean sheet. Whereas I've got Goodmanson, who's on the bench, who's got a 31% chance of keeping a clean sheet. Of course, there is some upside for Porro's attacking returns, but I'm still not sure about that one. So it's going to be a bit of a coin toss on deadline for me to make a decision there. Next, let's talk about the injury news going into game week 5. So starting with Strand Larsen, he's highly unlikely to play, but he's not ruled out. So I'm going to start him in my team. And of course, if he doesn't play, my first sub will come on, which in my case is Reinders. Then we have Gyökeres, who's got a head knock, which he picked up in the Champions League fixture midweek. Arteta has said that he's good to go, but we've been lied to before by Arteta, so I wouldn't put him at 100%, but I'd put him as probably likely to get some minutes. Whether that's off the bench or from the start is to be seen. As for the rest of these players, they are confirmed out for game week 5, so that's Marmoush, Mikolenko, Visser, and Sarr. I've picked those 4 because they are the most selected, but if you want to check out the full list of injuries, go on the FPL website. This game week for me, there's a pretty obvious standout captain, which is Salah. This is just due to the fixtures. Obviously, Arsenal and City play each other, which is not a great game week to captain players from either team. And also just in general, there's no really obvious captain picks this week. So for me, Salah, 5 stars, definitely the one I'm going to go for. If you want to be differential, you could go with Semenyo or Palmo, João Pedro, or if you really, really hate yourself, you could go with Watkins, who does have an easy fixture against a newly promoted side. But again, he hasn't scored a single point in the whole season. No assists, no goals. His XG is also incredibly low. I think he's had 2 shots on target this entire season. So yeah, I wouldn't be going for Watkins myself, but some people are. So if you have the bravery to go with someone like Watkins, then go for it. To finish up the video, let's look at my Game Week 5 team selection, starting with Sanchez in goal. Then we've gone with Porro. And as I said earlier, I'm not sure I'm going with Porro for Goodmanson. I am for now, but I might make another choice on Saturday morning. But for me, Porro edges it slightly, even though he's got a lower chance of keeping a clean sheet just because of attacking potential. Next, we have Nico Williams and Konza in the back line. And then we've got Salah captain playing Everton at home. Then Semenyo, followed by Fernandez and Wirtz. This is the last game week I'm seeing these two in my team, so I can't wait to get rid of them. But knowing my luck, they will probably score a decent game week and make my choice for the wildcard much harder. And then we've got Watkins. I won't spend too much time on him. João Pedro, who's been a really good transfer in for me. And then, as I said earlier, I've gone with Strand Larsen, even though I'm 90% sure he doesn't start. And then Reinders, first on the bench, is most likely to come in for Larsen. And yeah, finishing up, we've got Esteve last on the bench playing Forest at home. Not the worst fixture, so if I need him, I'll bring him in, but unlikely. So that's it for this video. If you find it useful, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.